Greetings my dears in love and light. I'm Nikki Sutton. Causes and symptoms of social anxiety and some ways to heal. Now before I begin, please consider visiting nikkisutton.com and taking my Inner Work for Ascension Discovering Your True Self course. That helps you to discover your true self and healing any negative emotions that we experience day to day. Okay then, social anxiety. Now this is something that I can relate to because I experienced it for a long time and I still do to some extent, and there's reasons why I have had it, and similar to other people as well, there's always reasons for these things. We often mask or try to mask these emotions with medications and things, but there's always reasons in the subconscious for it. Now, social anxiety can be quite debilitating and it can arise for not so obvious reasons but have quite obvious symptoms, and it can affect how we feel greatly. Social anxiety occurs when we're interacting with others. We're in social situations. It may be on an individual level, or it may be with groups, it may be with people we don't know, or it may occur with people we do know and even our own family members. And I've had that too with family members. Now when we experience social anxiety, we can feel a certain way. That's when we're interacting with others. So I'm going to list some ways we might feel and some possible causes for it. Alright, so when we're interacting with others, we might feel small or childlike. Now this can occur because the origination of the social anxiety can be from in the past, very often is, due to ongoing circumstances or events that went on that caused us to feel a certain way with other people. And because that went on when we were younger or smaller, when we're in a social situation now, we return to that and feel small or childlike in that situation. Another way we might feel when we're experiencing social anxiety is, why would they be interested in me? So this can be quite debilitating, that when we're interacting with someone, it's hard to know what to say because we think, well, why would they be interested in anything that I've got to say? Sort of a feeling of unworthiness, isn't it? Now one possible origination of this could be that in younger years, let's say in your family environment, you're told to shut up a lot. Or that's what you're talking about. You're stupid. We're not listening to you. You're told to go away a lot. So no one's interested in anything you've got to say. Now what happens is, children and adolescents, and even into adulthood, it can even happen in difficult relationships with an abusive partner. Children and adolescents soak up reality like sponges. So if in our reality we are trained to think that what we have to say is meaningless and no one wants to listen to what we have to say, we carry that conclusion into adulthood. Children construct their reality while they're children and adolescents. We figure out things about our reality, draw conclusions and perceptions. Perceptions about ourselves and perceptions about others and the way we interact with people and how they interact with us. If the conclusion we drew is what I say is pointless, nothing I say is meaningful, no one wants to listen to me, we carry that with us and feel the same way in adulthood. Okay, another way we can feel when we're experiencing social anxiety is a feeling of unworthiness. I'm not worthy to be in this situation. I am not good enough to be in this situation. Okay, so let's say in younger years you were told to go away a lot, or a sibling had preferential treatment over you, or even you were humiliated in front of others, and it could happen in school. Let's say at school there was a group of kids that excluded you and you didn't feel like you were good enough to be in that group, and they were unkind to you. Things like this can cause feelings of unworthiness, and then when you go into social situations, into adulthood, you feel the same way because it's how your brain is trained, it's how your mind is perceiving reality. Another way we can feel when we're experiencing social anxiety is that we are being evaluated. We feel, it's not always conscious at all, it's a subconscious feeling. In fact, it makes you want to run away. But a subconscious feeling that the people are evaluating you. So you might meet some new potential friends or just acquaintances, let's say at your children's school or at work in lunchtime, something like that. And you're interacting with them and you feel like they're evaluating you in some way. Are they thinking I'm an idiot? Are they thinking I look awkward? Do they think I'm strange? And it can actually happen as sort of an intrusive voice in the mind, or it can just be a feeling. Now, I've definitely experienced that before. Do they think there's something strange about me? I don't fit in here. So when you're feeling like you're sort of being evaluated or sized up in some way, this can be as a result of, for example, excessive criticism in younger years. Let's say when you were younger, you were in a relationship where you were criticised a lot by your partner. This can train you that you've got lots of stuff wrong with you, that there's someone always evaluating you, and it puts you on edge. Let's say in younger years as a child, you always felt like you were being evaluated. Your parents were always on your case and you weren't ever doing good enough. Or your siblings, or at school, you felt like people were sizing you up all the time. Again, this can be taken into adulthood as that's the way reality is. May I point out that we never hate on people from our past, we never hate on our family. People act the way they do for reasons, and it's usually because they have something in their backstory, like they were treated that way themselves, or they were treated unkindly themselves. So we can have forgiveness for them, and in that way we can let these things go as well. It's like the blind leading the blind, really. Oftentimes people know not what they do, and we're on the receiving end of it, and then we have to heal it, and in that way we can break the cycle. Another feeling we can have when we're experiencing social anxiety is feeling like an imposter. I don't belong here. I can't relate at all. So let's say a cause of that is in younger years you weren't exposed to many social situations. You're just not used to them. Let's say you didn't socialise with many children. Let's say you had some anxiety anyway and you stayed at home a lot. So not being used to socialising with others can cause you to feel like an imposter. It's almost like you subconsciously feel like you don't have the correct social skills in order to fit in. You feel awkward. Get onto that in a minute. So you feel like you shouldn't be here. You don't feel good enough for various reasons I've already listed. If you've lacked validation, if you've lacked reassurance in your past, if you've lacked guidance on social skills in your past, so if there's a lack of something, when you've behaved well and you've not received validation or reassurance that you are behaving well, you don't know when you're behaving well. So there's a confusion as you grow up. If you've always been on the receiving end of criticism, you feel like no matter what you do, it's not good enough. So again, when you go into adulthood, into social situations, it can cause you to feel like an imposter. I shouldn't be here because there's something wrong with me. I wonder if any of this is resonating with you. There's so many different causes. I'm just trying to list as many as possible. Okay, another way we can feel when we're experiencing social anxiety is after an interaction, we start beating ourselves up as to whether we've done okay in that interaction. We start questioning how we performed. Now that's something else that I have done a lot. I'd have a social interaction where I'd feel like I wasn't good enough anyway. And then afterwards I would run through the whole thing in my mind and wonder if I looked like a pillock. And I'd usually find something that wasn't good enough, and then I would worry, have anxiety about whether or not I did indeed look like a pillock or accidentally said something incredibly offensive. Not that I have a habit of saying offensive things, but again, I'd worry I'd said something offensive. So again, it's an inflated, out of proportion way of looking at the self, because we lack confidence, because we've received a lot of criticism, as an example, or we haven't received the support and validation we've needed in the past to know that we're socially acceptable. As a kid, I was bullied a bit, and so I felt like there was something wrong with me. I didn't understand why I was bullied, and others didn't get it. So I felt like there was something wrong with me. So that contributed to me worrying a lot about my performance in social situations. Am I acceptable? I don't know. My experience tells me that I'm not. In certain family situations, there'd be a lot of digs made, fun poked at each other. There'd always be one person in particular that would be the receiving end of it. Over time, these long-term circumstances start to wear you down, and you start to think, is there something wrong with me? Social interaction, even with family, is tiring. I have to defend myself all the time. So when you go on in life, you feel like in social interactions, I have to somehow defend myself, be defensive. There's so many factors. So another way we can feel when we're experiencing social anxiety, which leads on from that, is feeling intimidated or persecuted. We can start finding offence where there's none being given if we have been intimidated and persecuted in the past by others. Humans are largely social beings, and if we've been on the receiving end of a lot of intimidation, persecution, fun being poked at us, then it can make us defensive in social situations. So we're feeling anxious, it's going to happen again. Also, another way we can feel when we're experiencing social anxiety is in groups. We can feel like we're an outsider, we have nothing worthwhile to say, or that people will think negative of us. So I've already covered those, but it can happen in group settings as well. Some people are fine one-to-one socially because there's more control over the situation. One individual is more predictable. Oftentimes people with social anxiety find themselves being a bit of a chameleon, changing their personality to suit the person they're with. If they're with one person at that time, it's easier to change the way they're behaving to suit that one person. If a group dynamic kicks in and they're with a group, it's harder to change yourself to suit everyone in the group, to become what you perceive yourself as more socially acceptable. So we can end up being a bit of a chameleon in social situations in order to suit who we're with, so we will feel better about ourselves. So those have been some ways we can feel when we're experiencing social anxiety, and I'll just run through some physical symptoms. This video is starting to get a bit long, but bear with me. So we can feel tenseness, whole body is tense. Our voice can start to go, or we feel like we must speak quietly, or we end up speaking too fast as well. We can end up blushing. That's one that I would experience, especially in groups. I would start to blush. I wouldn't be able to help it. My face would just flush red and I'd feel like an idiot. Not knowing how to position the body. So you can end up very tense looking and like a robot because you don't know how to stand. Obviously, when you think about trying to relax the body, we can end up with quick, shallow breaths, sweating, fidgeting, inability to think. That's one where I just lose a train of thought, and also go a bit deaf at the same time, forgetting what we're trying to say, struggling to find words, stuttering, and an inability to make eye contact. So these are sort of symptoms of social anxiety as well. So more about why then this is happening. So we may or may not care about what people think of us. Many think that social anxiety is just that we care too much what other people think. It's a lot more than that, and it may not essentially really be that. It's more a feeling of just wanting to disappear or run away, or a fear of the judgment. We may not care what they think, although we might. It's a fear of the judgment, or feeling a certain way, feeling like a child. It might be fearing humiliation as well. That's a big one. We feel like we're going to be humiliated. It's inevitable that we're going to be humiliated, especially if we've been humiliated a lot in the past. Let's say a family member has always made fun of us in front of others. That teaches us that when we're in front of others, we get humiliated. So it could be a fear of humiliation, not just what people think. It isn't always conscious either, these feelings. We might just feel a certain way and have strong emotions and symptoms and just not know why. We may not be able to put into words or articulate why we feel the way we do. It's a subconscious thing. It just comes on. We don't choose it. You see, the subconscious mind holds all of the stuff that's ever happened to us. Things that need healing, the perceptions we've drawn about ourselves and what's going to happen in our reality. The subconscious mind holds it all. And then the conscious mind, the you in the driving seat, interprets reality, does one thing at a time, is the person who's interacting with the other people in our reality. But then the subconscious mind is bubbling up all these emotions all the time due to what's happened to us before and how we feel about ourselves. It's the subconscious that's nagging us with these feelings. We have no control over it. We can tell ourselves, oh, we mustn't care what people think, or we're not going to get humiliated, but still the subconscious mind says, I don't feel good in this situation, run or avoid. You can have so much anxiousness before a social situation that it's almost crippling. You can get like diarrhea and sickness and dizziness and all sorts before, just in the anticipation that there's something social coming up. We get triggered in social situations because they remind us of something. They remind us of something that's happened before. It's not necessarily going to happen again, but the whole situation just reminds us of something in our past. We don't necessarily have the memories come up from the past. It's just the subconscious gets reminded, so we have the emotions. They're triggered. Here come the emotions. So places where these things come from then, it can come from school, as I mentioned, from the kids at school being unkind or being really judgmental, as kids can be. It can come from parents and other family members, siblings. It can even be extended family. It can come from a partner before, especially an abusive relationship, emotionally abusive or narcissistic, where we've been humiliated a lot in front of others, judged as stupid, ugly, clumsy, or told things like go away or you're worthless, waste of space, things like that. You see, these are confidence denting circumstances. If we're singled out, we're the butt of jokes, we're receiving constant criticism, we haven't received validation, we've been belittled a lot, we've been bullied, we've been abused. These can be confidence denting situations which make us have very little self-acceptance. We can't bear to be in an excruciating social situation because we feel so bad about ourselves. All of these circumstances can contribute to a lack of confidence, how we feel about ourselves, triggered by a social situation, because these things have happened due to other people. It's social, due to other people in the past. So all of this is a subconscious mind trying to protect itself. The reason why we get this feeling before a social event or meeting up with someone for a coffee even, the reason why we get this feeling is because the subconscious mind is trying to protect us. It's trying to prevent us from being in these situations again because they were painful last time. So we get this feeling of quick run away or don't even go because the subconscious is trying to prevent more pain. The subconscious mind thinks it's going to happen all over again, anticipates it and tries to protect itself. Okay, so now moving on to how to heal social anxiety. Now, first of all, I always say that Rome wasn't built in a day. It takes time to heal these things. We can't just have a quick fix. Now, there's things we can do in our day-to-day life. Today, conscious work, and then there's subconscious work. Now, when we're doing subconscious work, it means going back in time. And this often means going back to the memories of the things that caused it and healing them and using various healing techniques. Now, I perform hypnosis sessions via the internet and phone as well if you visit nikkisutton.com, and it's especially good for that. We use spiritual techniques to heal these memories and things, but it can be done yourself. Alright, so to heal the memories, it's revisiting them. Now, they can come up anyway at certain times. When odd memories come up triggered by emotions, don't just leave them, just be present in them when you're feeling ready and it's safe, you're feeling like it's safe to do so. So you can visit these memories at its best in a relaxed state, because then the subconscious mind is dominant and you can look at them again. So you can do this during meditation, so you're relaxing down for about 20 minutes, concentrating on the breath, and then you can open your mind and allow memories to pop in. A good way to trace the memories is by feeling the feeling that you get in the social situations, the various feelings you get when the anxiety happens, and the physical symptoms, things like that. If you imagine feeling that way for a little while and then see what memories pop up, set the intention to remember a memory, the earliest time that you ever felt this way. So, for example, if I'm feeling a great sense of humiliation when I'm interacting in a social environment, I would meditate on that. Experience that feeling of humiliation just by imagining what it's like in a social situation, and then setting the intent to retrieve a memory, the earliest time that I ever felt that way. So you can do that through meditation, as I said, or through hypnosis, which is deep guided relaxation with a professional. And it's becoming aware of it in the first place, this whole process. You'll find your subconscious mind starts bringing up these things a lot more because it's given permission to do so. It can also help writing it out. You can have a conversation with yourself on paper. Ask your subconscious mind to take you back to the earliest time you felt this way, and then start writing out what you're thinking and feeling and memories coming up. It's a good way to get things out and heal them. Okay, so if you do happen to come upon a memory, let's say at some point you were receiving some unkind words from siblings telling you that you were worthless and useless or something like that, and it was especially making you feel bad, you can go into that memory if you feel like you can do and you feel like you're all right to do so. All right, and you can re-examine those memories. Now, in those memories, we drew certain conclusions about ourselves. We may have taken it all to heart, what others were saying or what the sibling was saying. So we can go back into that memory as a third person and be there with your younger self. Freeze frame the memory and talk to your younger self. You can reassure your younger self. Tell them what they need to hear to feel better. For example, your sibling is hurt themselves. They need healing themselves. They don't know what they're saying. They don't really mean it. When they grow up, they're going to be sorry about it. If you say you are loved, you are worthy, you are wonderful, keep it all in the positive. Okay, because the subconscious listens to positive commands. Give your younger self a big hug. Tell them you love them. And the key is by going back into a memory, you can perceive it in a new light, whereas you drew negative conclusions the first time round and you kept them and took them with you. By perceiving it in a new light, by having forgiveness for the others, the other players in this memory who were subjecting you to whatever it was that's helped contribute to your social anxiety, by having forgiveness for them, through understanding why they are how they are. Understanding leads to forgiveness. Then that takes a lot off the self. If we have forgiveness for those in the memory, we realise it wasn't our fault. It wasn't me. They weren't qualified to tell me who I am. It wasn't me. And hug your younger self. Tell them they're loved. And then close down the memory, and after a little while end your meditation. So it's looking at these again with a new light, please see my video on ways to communicate with the subconscious mind for help on this. But remember, if it's very painful to do so, don't attempt it yourself. Seek professional help or a counsellor to go through it with you. All right. And other ways to heal social anxiety is to do some work day to day with the conscious mind, which does sink into the subconscious mind eventually. So you can do affirmations. They shouldn't be used on their own. You also need inner work, subconscious work as well. But you can tell yourself things like, I am a strong and confident person. I am worthy of these social situations. I have lots of interesting things to say. Whatever it is that you need to hear, talk to your subconscious mind. It's talking to yourself. I talk to myself a lot. So reassure yourself and do it repetitiously. So reassure yourself in blocks of three blocks of 10 times. Reassure yourself with whatever affirmation you need in order to feel better. And in time, the subconscious mind accepts that. Please see my video on how to create affirmations, and that will help you. And lastly, you can just talk to yourself in the mirror. You can ask your subconscious mind what's wrong in certain situations. Why did I feel that way in that social situation? Why am I dreading this social situation coming up? Listen to what your subconscious mind says. You might find yourself talking back to yourself, or you might suddenly feel an emotion, or you might hear a voice in your mind saying, oh, it was terrible, I worry that I'm going to make an idiot of myself. Then talk to yourself and reassure your subconscious mind, you're not going to make an idiot of yourself. You're a wonderful person. You're great in everyday life. You know you are. Talk to yourself and reassure your subconscious mind, which is still reeling from events from the past. And the main thing is to do that inner work, that subconscious work that I mentioned first of all. Take a hypnosis session or see a counsellor, anything like that. It's really important to get things out and go over them again and expose them to the light of day with your conscious mind once more, and reason them again with the new reasoning that you're capable of now. Okay, I know that's been an extremely long video, but it's a very big topic indeed. So I hope that's been helpful for you on social anxiety. I have a lot of experience with this. I've had it myself and it's a lot better today, but give yourself time. Bit by bit, you'll feel better. Okay. So remember to visit nikkisutton.com if you want to book a session with me or take my Inner Work for Ascension course, Discovering Your True Self. If we get closer to our true self, all these things start to melt away. And remember to click subscribe if you're not already a subscriber to receive regular spiritual inspiration on your journey through life. Like and share also, because we're raising the mass vibration together. So go now in love and peace.